Yeah, I think we're recording. Awesome.
I think this is going to be great. It's going to be a really good podcast.
What we should have done, just so you know, is we should have been recording in the beginning when you were trying to get your mic working. This would have been such a perfect microcosm of like, this is Linda. Because Linda is like, I got a better way, I got a this, I got a whatever. And you're like, babe, how do I make sure this mic's working? How do I make sure it's whatever? I'm like, just do blah, 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 whatever. And you're like, no, I got a better idea.
You know what? You're just saying this because to sum everything up, I'm super stubborn. And this is why you're saying this. Like you're kind of being soft about it, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I am stubborn.
I'm like, babe, just take it, turn it on, move it. No, I got a better idea. 5 minutes later. Yeah. And then finally you're like, I'm not sure. I'm like, just do this. She's like, why didn't we just do that?
But what did I say? I gave you credit. I was like, oh yeah, that is right.
It was just, that was the perfect sum up of like
6 minutes later.
I got my, anyway, hey everybody, welcome. I'm not even sure what episode this is, but welcome to Today with Jared James. As I said, I'm not even sure which episode this is right now, but it is one of a manyth. I am joined once again by Linda. Linda, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hello. And I actually am coming from Fresno, California.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool, huh? This is our first time doing this.
Yeah, we're trying it this way. I was actually going to be a little bit more comfortable just kind of laying on the couch, or not laying, but like sitting on the couch. But I have a broadcast with Nick, my buddy Nick Bailey, CEO of Remax, and another coach, Brian Buffini. We are doing a show on Monday. And so I don't want to have to reset up the camera and everything. So
which I think is going to be fun.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I think that'll go well. It always goes well. I mean, it'll be good. Like it's all good personalities. We'll have a good time. My voice is a little shot like right now. Like I just came back from Atlantic City.
Yeah. What did you do in Atlantic City, Jared?
Not sleep a ton. That's for sure. God.
Yeah.
But everywhere you go, you know how this goes. Like everywhere you go, there's music, there's this. So like you're yelling everything you say and you don't even realize the effect it's having on your voice. And then all of a sudden, like the next day, you know, you wake up to like say hello or say whatever. And you're just like, oh, like nothing comes out. And you're like, where did that come from? Yeah. So my throat is, for lack of a better, you know, whatever, my throat right now is sore. But it will be good by Monday and it'll be good for this podcast, but hopefully it doesn't cut out too much. I will say, you know, we haven't done a lot of podcasts since the advance and such. And this is actually one of the reasons why we're doing this, so we can do this stuff more. Because I know a lot of people are like, do more podcasts. And I will say that one of my favorite things that I heard over and over again, I've been hearing lately from people, is they say that they love the podcast that I'm doing with yours truly. Which I know is nice for you to hear because
there are some comments out there that say otherwise. I won't say any names, Crystal. Just kidding. Yeah. I don't think her name was Crystal. Just kidding. I really
What made you think of the name Crystal?
I don't know. It just sounds like a name that
it's your meth addiction.
Comment out there.
Crystal meth addiction.
I really hope it's not the name though. So now that I say that.
Yeah, no, it's not. But no, it's funny though, because you get the other side of it now, right? Where it's like, I say to you all the time, I say to my team all the time, I'm like, guys, once you hit a certain scale, even if you make 99 out of 100 people happy, like think about that. 99 out of 100 people. That means if you're in front of 1,000 people, which is not that many, right? If you have 1,000 views on a video, that's not that many. If you have 1,000, that's not that many. Like if you're in that kind of a situation, right? That means you still have 10 very loud people, you know, that are there going like, this is terrible. You're a horrible human being. You know, you're ruining the podcast.
I think we naturally, I mean, we sometimes allow that negative comment to impact us more than the other 20 plus comments that are like, I love it.
That's
bring
exactly
more,
my point.
Right. And then that one person that probably just started listening to you,
who has a cat as their profile picture.
And that's honestly in every situation in our life. It could be in a podcast. It could be in a, I don't know, in a review. It could be from feed. It could be anything. I mean, it takes just one person to pull us down, which is like so crazy that we even allow that.
You don't have to though. Like you literally don't have to. Like it is It's funny to me because like I've made some videos lately that have had like a lot of views, and I mean like a lot of views, to the point where like I can't even keep up with the comments, keep up with the whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll jump in there every once in a while, because the bigger that a video becomes, especially TikTok. TikTok is like the modern day Twitter, where it's just hate and everything's bad and everything's whatever.
Where's Elon
And
Musk?
it literally makes me laugh. Like it literally, like I'll go and look at these comments and I'm like, it's laughable. I think I actually responded to somebody the other day, just for fun, just for my own whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take advice from someone with a cat as their profile picture. Like,
I know.
Come on, seriously? Like, you got Garfield as your your profile picture, and I'm supposed to take you serious? But those are the people that a lot of us listen to. And so my only point in all of that was just basically, there was comments and stuff about, would he just get back to talking to business? To what's he talking to her for? Whatever. And it's like, hey, you missed the point. We got plenty of stuff on Instagram, plenty of stuff in our coaching group, plenty of stuff in all of this stuff where we do nothing but business all the time. Part of the reason why I like this platform is because, it's a little more relaxed, and we can just kind of show the human side, I guess, a little bit more. So anyway, that's been one of my favorite things, is people saying like, I love the podcast when you do it with Linda. And, that's cool for me. So.
It's just, honestly, it's fun. It gives me, like, it allows a different perspective to happen, and me, I'm a challenger. I'm going to push, I'm going to poke, I'm going to ask. And a lot of it is not because like I want to be annoying. I want to come from understanding. I want to understand. Yeah. And so,
you want to find a better way to get that mic going.
And then at the end of it, salute you, because your solution was way better than mine to begin with. So it doesn't matter. That's cool.
Oh my God.
Anyways.
I love you. Anyway, so we've been doing a lot of, there's a few things I want to get to today. We're at the time of the year right now. You're running First Up, FYRSTUP.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because I get to hear from you sometimes, like your frustration, because you'll be talking to brokers. I mean, that's who you talk to, because your broker is your end client, right? As far as like,
we do a lot of B2B. I mean, we don't do B2B.
You're business to business. Like, you are talking to brokers. They've got to adopt the platform in order for their agents to adopt the platform. Yeah. And it's so interesting because you made a comment to me the other day, and you were getting frustrated, and I'm like, babe, it's a numbers game. It's all good. Like, like at the end of the day, we win. It's all good. You're not going to get every one of them. But you were frustrated because you want what's best for them. And it's like, you see people continually make decisions that are against their own best interest, and then continue to complain about the result from that decision that's against their own best interest. And you made a comment to me, and you were talking about how brokers will fight to have these all-in-one solutions. They want everything in one. But then the next year, when they're done paying for that solution for 12 months, they complain about what? No adoption. Talk to me a little bit about that, like what you're saying. I thought that was interesting for people to hear.
I mean, I feel like this is where we get most of our content from, is when we are like frustrated, right? Or like bothered by something, or have a great idea. But, I've been in the MLS space for a decade, and I ran a multiple listing service. I trained agents on how to use tools for the intent of like their business. Like, so how to use the MLS for listing and on the buyer side, but also outside of its intent, right? There's so much more to do with that one tool. And everywhere I go, I mean, and looking at adoption rates on certain tools within the product, it's just mind blowing how people don't touch certain stuff, but it's because it's so overwhelming. Right. And so when creating First Up, you and I, we sat down at the drawing board and decided, hey, we want this to be so stupid simple and reduce time spent on the app as much as possible, so we could get user adoption and get
make money, ROI, the whole thing. But you made a comment all the time, which I love. You said this on a demo the other day. You said, look, all these apps you look at, Instagram's going to tell you how long they keep people on the platform, how many hours, how many whatever. And you're like, you got to understand, we're the opposite. We are looking at how can we reduce the amount of time people spend on this thing. We want 60 seconds or less so they can get back to their life while still getting the return.
We want efficiency to drive like no other. We want to carry all the workload, eliminate the workload on the agent. And what's crazy? The agents say this all the time. Oh, another tool in our toolbox. Brokers even say it, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to add another tool to the toolbox, but instead I'll add one tool that has 20 features in it, makes me feel a little better. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so,
and then they don't get the adoption because it's overwhelming. It's like, I
yeah,
don't get this. I don't know. I just, and
I
when
don't
people
use
are
it.
overwhelmed, when they're confused, they go back to what they know, right?
But yeah, it's so wild. So this specific brokerage that we're talking about, I worked with them in the past, and I reached out to them recently, a couple months back, and they were very much like, oh my goodness, Linda, I'm so glad you reached out. You are this, they literally said this, you are the solution that we are needing in this market. And I cannot wait to like implement it. We did the whole demo again. We talked about it. We talked about new features and roadmaps, but we're still keeping it very, very simple. And when I say simple, what we're looking at, less than 60 seconds an average agent spends on the app.
Yeah.
Like that's all we want. And and I say this too, the app was actually, the idea came from agents. When I say developed by agents, I really mean by user testing. We've tested the workflow and time spent. So I could easily say that this app came from agents, built by agents, used by agents, and it's adopted from the top brokers. And I know it works. But right before we deal doc, they say, oh, I found a solution that not only does what my agents are wanting, but is better for the overall corporate environment. And I'm like, whoa. So like you're investing in a tool that really probably is better for corporate communication and all these other bells and whistles, that is not going to drive the adoption you need, nor really solve the pain point that your agents are asking for you to solve.
Right.
And
more bells and whistles, more
so
things.
upset with that. And it probably was, you think about this too. There's 27 features that they absolutely love and services in the product for a lower cost. I look at that as like the buffet style service. Here you go, pay $30, all you can eat buffet. Are you really going to eat all that? Like everything?
When really you're just going to fill your plate with a thing full of mashed potatoes, a bunch of dessert you never eat, a bunch of, whatever. Yeah.
Versus literally going to a steakhouse. Everything's a la carte and you are going to enjoy every single bit of it.
That's right.
Because you're paying $30 for this, $60 for that, whatever, $20 for that.
Steak, cream spinach, and potatoes au gratin, and you are going to enjoy these three things.
It kills me. And, and it's unfortunate.
By the way, that's a really good example. I like that. That's a really good example.
Thanks. Usually I have terrible examples.
That actually. That's actually really good.
Usually you're like, maybe that example does not work. No, but that's the case. That's the truth. And what's so hard is we're very B2B. So we'll still have agents reach out, like wanting our service. And I'm like, hey, like, I can't. I
just talked to your company. They went with something. Oh, you're not using it? Yeah.
What's even wild too, babe, we had top producing people in that brokerage advocating. And they still did not listen.
I know.
And I always say, one of the greatest things about First Step is, when you actually said this, the greatest recruiting you could do is to retain the talent you have.
Right.
And it's mind blowing that brokers don't do that. Like a lot of brokers don't. And so, anyway,
you got to date your spouse.
So.
You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like that's that, right? And it was interesting because I talked to you the other day. We were talking in the car or whatever, and I said you were about to get on with someone, and I said, look, you need to actually address the elephant in the room, which is that a lot of these brokers, what they're doing right now is they're looking for every place to cut. Okay, which a lot of times they should, right? But we need to understand the difference between spending and investment. Those are two different things, right? So you want to cut spending right now. You want to actually look at, it's a good time to be looking at what's actually working, what's not working, let's see how we can because there were things that we got away with the last few years that we didn't take the time or weren't given the opportunity to see, is that worth it or not? But we were able to get away with it because of the market. And now you look at it and everybody's going, okay, cut spending. Absolutely. But increase investment.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference is investment actually brings a return, right? So why wouldn't we want more of those kinds of things, right? And that's the conversation that you need to be having with brokers, saying, let's look at where to cut spending, absolutely. But when you have something that's an absolute investment that right now is going to allow you to double end more deals in a compliant manner, it's going to allow you to get more of your the people within your brokerage, raising their hand and doing people's open houses, getting in front of more buyers. It's going to allow you to be able to say to a potential buyer in an environment right now where buyer agency agreements are a real thing, whether they're required in your state, your province or not right now, they will be soon. You need to be able to say, hey, when you work with me, you get a proprietary list of sellers nobody else has access to in a completely compliant manner. Like all of these tools that you're able to do, that's an investment. And so I said to you, I said, hey, make sure that you're actually addressing the elephant in the room. Don't ignore it. Don't try to backdoor it. Don't try to get around it. It's real and it should be real. But we also need to educate them to understand that you should be cutting spending, but you should be increasing investment. And that is a message not only for brokers, that's an investment for agents. That's a message for agents. That's a message for entrepreneurs.
And it's
anybody.
Sorry to cut you, but this doesn't only apply to tech tools that you offer within your brokerage. I just had a conversation with a broker here in town. Great guy. We served when I was an MLS exec. He served as the president, as the MLS chair. Very well rounded in the industry. He's phenomenal, and his cut of spending is reducing headcount. Quite honestly, and I'm not talking about staff, but he's like, Linda, my goal for next year is to go from 100 agent office to actually a 70 agent office.
Yeah,
and just be super lean.
Different goal, same result. Like more efficient, more whatever, but it's by doing what most people would be thinking.
And absolutely, and I appreciated that. And he is going to incorporate First Step with those agents that are producing, right, and driving in the bottom revenue line. But and I had another broker actually. I'm not sure if he's listening to this, but Adam Purcell, hi, Remax. He, before implementing the product, what he did was the same exact thing. Let me go ahead and eliminate those that are not producing, that is causing more overhead for me. And let me provide this tool to those that actually deserve it, and that is bringing in business and driving business.
That's an interesting point, because there's an argument to be made.
There is. I know where you're going with this.
Because look, we just added a feature, right? So our tool is the virtual whiteboard. It's where people used to put the listings on the whiteboard and you'd be made aware of them before they hit the MLS, but you knew that they were coming within brokerage, whatever. We do that. Only we do it virtually on the app, and it notifies everybody, and it buyer matches to the people's buyers within your area. But we added a feature now in the last couple of weeks for open houses, because those used to go on the whiteboard too.
Spoiler alert,
put not only do you put the open houses on the app now, you can also say whether that open house needs a host. And the beauty in that is that some of the agents who are trying to get business, they're trying to get in front of people, other agents that have 4 of them in a weekend, and they can't do them all. You now give the opportunity to those lower producing ones, or those ones who are just hungry, to raise their hand and say, I'll take that open house. Now you give them an opportunity to get in front of people. So the point I'm making is not that other point is wrong. The point I'm making is that we have to understand the difference between people who are low producing because of their effort and because of their drive and because of their will and because of their motivation, and people who at the moment are underproducing on where they want to be because they need opportunity, they need direction, and this can still do that for them. It allows them to raise their hand, see what's available, and say, I'll take that one on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But to come full circle, it is very frustrating when brokers are wanting an all-in-one solution, which quite honestly is not the best route to go. And you know what? It's so interesting, because I really, I mentioned this to you, they will come back around. They're going to come back around, and they're going to realize this.
It'd be like wearing a jumper every day. It's like there's a reason why we like specific pants, and we like specific shoes, and we like a specific shirt, and we like to do our hair a certain way, and we like to put on a certain watch, and we like to put on when you just say all in one, it's like, all right, we're just jumping around in jumpers every day, like hazmat suits. Like we're just, look, I covered everything. Technically you still get credit for being dressed, but you're not exactly the belle of the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not necessarily, no one's taking style tips, right? And it's the same thing when you start looking at your tech, right? All in one is not always a great thing, because what happens is we have all these things, but again, when people get overwhelmed, they don't necessarily do it.
And then honestly, what happens too is if you find out it's not working, you have to eliminate that one product with 20 features that you invested in all over. And then now you have to go figure out, it's like I said, the whole a la carte style is perfect. If it doesn't work, great. Eliminate that and replace that, versus getting rid of a whole entire product. Yeah. So
your example is so good. And the reason why was like, I think about a buffet and I think about how when we're unsure about something, we just slop it on the plate. Next, we just slop that sucker over. And yet how many plates get pulled away from a table completely full? Here, let me just take a little, whatever. I have too much of that. Oh, I don't, whatever. And it just gets overwhelming. Whereas when you, like you said, you go to a steakhouse, I'll tell you right now, I'm eating as many bites of that as possible. And it's delicious. And you value it and you care about it. You can't wait for it. And it's a different thing. So anyway, I more so brought that up because it's something that's happening right now.
Yeah, it is.
You're in a lot of consults. You're in a lot of things with people. And it's such an oxymoron because it's just like people within business, entrepreneurs, we make decisions that work against our own benefit. We make decisions that work against the results we want. And so we want adoption. It's the number one thing you hear from these brokers. I need them to use it. I need them to whatever. And then we make decisions that they don't mean to do it, but it's what works against adoption, which is when there's too much. They've already got enough things on here. They've already got enough things drawing their attention, right? So you want something that's going to give ROI. You want something that's actually valuable that becomes a real foundation of what they're using. But that means you got to keep it simple, quick, easy, efficient. Like this is what it does. And that's it. It's like a CRM that does way too much. I remember the top producer platform, which, God, it will make you dinner if you knew the right code word, but you get in with the average agent and you're like, so what are you using it for? I've got my contacts in here. Well, do you know it does this? No idea. Did you know it does? No idea.
Yeah. That's the MLS. Everyone uses it to what? To list and sell property. That's all they use it for.
Well, we work with 30 other companies. They're all integrated. They all do great. Great. What came on today?
Oh, totally. There was a tool in there that when I first started, and not to spend too much time on it, but when I first started, I came from corporate Apple into an MLS space, had no idea what the MLS was.
Just so we know, corporate Apple just means Apple.
Apple. The corporate space. The corporate
Apple,
space.
like your phone, like your whatever, you work with Apple. Yeah.
And I sat in there and I was a MLS support person. And the gentleman that was the MLS exec at the time he literally said, Linda, kind of train yourself. Go in there, find a feature that you absolutely love, and then teach me that. And so I called Rapatoni, they trained me on a couple of things. And then I found reverse prospecting and realized that adoption rate on reverse prospecting was less than 5% across 8,000 agents here in the Valley. And I'm like, what? I wonder why. Like, what's the benefit of it? Why would they use it? Why are they not using it? That tool is gold. And you could use it for prospecting at a listing presentation, buyer, all of it. And no one does it. And so what now I had the ability to implement reverse prospecting in First Up. Like, let me teach you how to reverse prospect. Let me show you how to do that. And it was a tool that was never taught on, but phenomenal.
When you say that, by the way, my head, the coach side of me takes over. And I'm just like, because I'm getting so many messages from people. I'm seeing so many things online. I'm seeing like all this kind of stuff. And the conversation right now is centered around the idea of like side hustles. Because there's a lot of agents struggling and they're like, what do I do to keep going? Like, whatever, like what, Jared, somebody sent me the other day, like, what's your top 3 side hustles right now? And I'm like, well, before we get to side hustles, how much primary hustle are you doing on prospecting? How much primary hustle are you doing on reverse prospecting? How much, and they're like, well, I know I should get better at that. I know. And I'm like, whoa. You are willing to go get another job doing side hustle before you do main hustle? I don't, like, help me understand. And look, I'm not downing, I'm not degrading, there's a time when you have to do that, and there are people who will be able to stay in the industry because of that. Understand what I'm saying. I'm talking about from the perspective of what comes first. Like, before you go looking at side hustle, have you mastered the primary hustle? And that's not working first. Because prospecting, being proactive about your business, is the number one way that you'll jumpstart it and keep it going. But sitting back and waiting is the primary way to have to start looking for a side hustle.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Anyway. Anyway.
So we could be on this topic for hours, I feel like.
Yeah, that could get all right. I want to ask you, because we wrote down some questions and stuff we wanted to ask each other. So I want to ask you right now. Tell me something that you value. And by the way, we're going to talk about, before I get into that, at the end of this, you and I are launching a program together, like a health program. And when you were talking a second ago about how your broker friend said, hey, my goal for next year is not, all these other things. It's cutting the number of agents I have, not increasing the number of agents I have. It so reminded me, we'll come back to it at the end. It so reminded me when we were talking about this thing, we're going to do this health accountability thing at the beginning of the year with people, about how when we were talking about competitions and goals and these different things, we were saying, well, it can't be just, you lose this much weight or you have this much, whatever. You were like, some people are in there because they want to gain weight. Like their idea of health is actually they need to put on. And it made me think of that because it's so true. But anyway, on to our questions. We'll talk about that more at the end. What's something that other people value that you don't? Do you have anything? I don't even know if you have anything. Just tell me.
Okay. I mean, not everyone's gonna obviously agree to this, but what? One more time, read the question again. Sorry. What was that, sir?
If you can't think of one, I'll do it.
I was gonna say like people's perspective.
What's something other people value that you don't?
It's what others perspective. For the longest time, I was very much all about what others thought about me. Very much a people pleaser, right? And so I think now it's I am who I am. This is me. And I think a lot of it right now, and this, is because of my personal, like what I'm going through personally, here. And I've learned it's super hard to be like, you know what, it's fine. It's cool. It's your opinion of me. And it's what you think.
Don't give people power they don't deserve.
I'm not totally. And it's not someone it's not a fight that I could ever win either.
That's exactly it. Because they don't have your best interests. Like, that's just it. It's like,
and they are 100% deserving of what their perspective and what their opinions about me are truly like. They could voice that. That's theirs, and that's fine.
And you're 100% allowed to disassociate yourself with it.
Yeah, and I have learned to just be like, you know what, that's super unfortunate that you think that, and I'm sorry that you feel this way. Yeah, and move forward. But for the longest time, I would fight.
Yeah, I don't care.
But you know what? It's because they don't. I shouldn't allow them to have this effect or power over what I dictate they should or should not have. But so many of us, especially on social, in my situation, it's more family dynamic, ex, all of that. And they don't deserve that power. And by all means, you could have any thought, idea, you could put any comment you want, and that's your opinion, and that's totally fine. But every now and then, I struggle with this. I struggle with it hard. But I have to just remind myself, like, hey, it is what it is. And that person, who knows, could be miserable.
I was going to say, I don't like when you said in the beginning, I don't think that it's you don't. I think it's that you every day are working towards making sure that you empower voices that have your best interest and deserve it, and have all of the evidence. Meaning they understand they understand, like, whatever. It's not just some outside that always has an opinion on whatever. They love you, but they don't even know what they're talking about. It's just understanding that there are very few people in this world who actually deserve to have that kind of power.
And by nature, I'm a challenger. I love challenging in a different way. You lift me up. You encourage me. Sometimes you'll tell me the hard stuff, but I come in a way of understanding, like our relationship, what you mean to me, and to my kids. And I do that. And I really do a lot of, and this about me, I process. I will take
no doubt. I'm thinking of something right now. I'm not going to go there, but I'm thinking of something right now where I was very strong with you at one point, which I'm not usually like that, whatever, but I'm just like, listen to me now. Like, this is, I'm like, I am on the outside here, unemotional, but just looking at it, I'm like, listen to me. Like, this is like, I see this, like, that when I'm really whatever, I'll say to you, I'll be like, look, I see this clear as day. Like, I suck at a lot of things, but this is not one of them. Like I see this clear as day. And I have learned with you that sometimes you're kind of like, you almost have to come to it yourself, where it's like, you got to like, just let me process, let me, you know, whatever.
And I'm not saying that I don't care what I don't care about what anyone has to say. You know,
right. That would be more like narcissism. Like you're more, no, you just, you care about the right people.
Yeah. Cause for so long I was living a life for just someone else and everyone else. And it wasn't for me, you know? And so, but
you quoted some words today from a song. Like you were like, you didn't say it like this, but you were like, the song spoke to me.
Oh my gosh. Like
you were just like, you called me and you were just like, and this was out of the blue. It was completely like, I didn't know we were going here as far as a song or lyrics or anything. And next thing you know, you're quoting lyrics from a country song. And I'm like, oh, I see why she's doing that.
Yeah. And so, but I think it's a battle every day for a lot of people. And I think social media has a ton of influence on that. Like there's that, and there's, just keeping up with the Joneses, like mindset. Like, and you could get caught up in all of it. And my situation isn't the most flattering and pretty tied in a bow situation either. And so I could get very much into this hole, but like, what
did I tell you earlier today? Like you were with a friend, everybody's new term is they're an influencer. Like everybody's an influencer, right? And you were out with someone yesterday and they said something about your boyfriend. Oh my God, whatever. And they said influencer or something like that. And like influencer to me is like the new, like, it's like when someone's like coach, it's like everyone's a coach, everyone's a, whatever. And I hear that now and I hear influencer and I just like roll my eyes because like my idea of influencer is, well, first off, it's like poser. Because most of them are absolutely fake. They buy likes, they buy followers and show everybody. And, it's just, there's bots liking their stuff. It's all fake. Everywhere they go, they're not authentically themselves. They're never in a real moment. It's all setting it up for the next video and what it's going to look like. Here's how I'm going to whatever. And like, I can't, I can't stand that. Like, I'm just like, that is just like, stop it. Like, we're just commercializing, being a douchebag. Like I can't stand that. Right. And in the same way, with like what you're talking about right now, I said this on a podcast I did recently where I said that, most people who are out there teaching others how to be like them, they don't even know who they are. They tell in the same video and picture, they're telling everyone to be authentic. They're picking from 16 filters.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, how does this add up? I'm not understanding right now, And so on one hand, you need to listen to people, like the right people. Like nobody's saying that you're just closed off and you're not, whatever. But I think it's a battle for everybody on deciding who those right people are, because I think sometimes people think that people around them have a birthright to that opinion or to molding you because they were born within the same family or that you grew up together or, within a whatever. And the truth is that right is earned. And quite frankly, I'd have to think this through a little bit more, but that right is earned almost daily, as far as who has that privilege, who cares enough to do that, who has the right motives, who, that's a very small circle.
Oh yeah.
There's some stuff. Look, you always listen to what's being, because there might be some truth even in people who don't like you. You can always pull something from it. But as far as really exposing yourself and being completely open to what somebody sees that is contrary to what you're saying, acting like, being whatever, that's a very small circle.
Yeah.
Because they have to have the right motive,
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you.
Most people criticize others to benefit themselves, but true criticism is there to benefit that person, in a good way. It's not a put down, it's a lift me up. It's the same action with a different result.
Yeah. So that would be mine. So tell me something that other people value.
Right, that's pretty.
What was that?
That might be clippable. That was. Oh. I never said that. That was actually, I'm thinking it through in my head right now. And I'm like, that's decent.
Did I interrupt you at all when you said that?
Pretty decent right there. No.
Right. So mine is perspective and opinions, but yeah.
Mine isn't anywhere near as deep as yours. Like,
I know. I'm sure it's not. I think yours is more logic. It applies to everybody.
I was going to say budgets.
Oh, it's a little lighter.
Like everybody's so like big on budget. And I believe in a budget from a certain perspective. But when you talk about departments and companies and all these things, there's a certain extent where there has to be. But like overall, I'm more ROI than I am budget. I'm more return on investment than I am budget. I don't make a video and what's the budget to promote this? Well, I don't know. What's the return? You know, it's $2,000. All right. So if there's absolutely no return, we just waste $2,000, you know, but if we put out 2,000, it brings back 10,000. Well, now the budget's 80 grand. Like, let's keep going. And so I've always think that people get stuck on this. Like, what's the budget? What's the budget for this? Because, you know, like when you have departments, you have people, you have, you know, what, like take myself, for example, and, you know, for example, we're hiring a film crew for the advance. Well, what's the budget? Well, what does it matter? Because what happens is they go to that conversation with that film crew with the idea that I need to get to this price. And there goes that whole startup mindset and whatever. It's just like, we need to get to this number when it could have been down here, or it could have been like, you know, whatever. So I've never, when you ask the question, you know, what's one thing that a lot of people value that I don't, on some level, and I'm not talking overall everything, but on some level, it's budgets. I go out with major companies and CEOs and these big, whatever, and they take the teams out for dinners, and, you know, they've got certain budgets they can, you know, and they just waste like thousands of dollars at dinner because they can do it, because I've got this much left on the budget. And it's like, well, okay, so that was within budget, but was that okay? You know, if that were my money, and by the way, I do run the company, so it is my money. I don't think that's okay. You know, but once you give someone that budget and they know they have it left, they just spend it. Well, where did ROI come in? Like, that's just, you know, so I come from a little different perspective, short and easy. It was nowhere near as emotional or probably good as your answer.
No, it's okay. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah. It's mine's budgets. Yours is the opinion.
So, I mean, at what point, like, let's say there isn't a return or it's very little return. Like, how do you look at
budget is cut?
It is?
Or you tinker it. Or I mean, I'm doing it right now with my son. My son is trying to get into drop shipping. And I don't care whether it works or not. It's just the fact that he has interest, and I want to show him how it works and how marketing works and how, you know, internet ads work and how setting up a website works and how e-commerce works. So for me, it's an education regardless. Even if he loses money, that's the best spent money on education that a college will ever give him. And, you know, we're doing it right now. We ran some ads recently, and he is trying to figure out, are they working? Are they not working? Why are they working or not working? Like, what's, you know, and that's, you know, we're looking at the budget, what we put on there for a daily spend. What's the return on it? Do we up it? Do we down it? Do we get back to the drawing board? Like, you know, we're doing that right now. I love doing that. It's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, yours was lighter. Okay.
What's that?
Your answer was a little lighter, not as heavy.
Yeah, no, it's
which is totally fine.
Business, but it's, you know, it is what it is. It's
okay. So I have something. When I don't even know how to start this. So, like, quite often when you're in flight, airplane mode, right? You always will, like, not always, you'll throw something out there on social and say, hey, I have some time, you know, throw up a question.
Oh, you want to have like extra time or something? I'll just be like, hey, I've got whatever. I'm going to be on a flight.
Any questions, let me know.
Ask me anything.
Ask me anything. That's what it is. You always say that. Okay. Ask me anything. And so, I mean, there's some great questions. And then someone says, like, well, how could I be like Jared James? How could I be like you? And which was super interesting. And your response was lengthy, but it reminded me of an interview that I was watching with Elon Musk. And it was, I want to say it was at a college, a university of some sort. And one of the students stood up and said, like, what would you say to a child or to a kid or someone that looks up to you and says, hey, how could I be like the next Elon Musk? How could I be like you?
You don't want to be that.
And he looks at, and this is crazy, and he does this quite often. If you guys watch any of his interviews, he does this a lot.
I'm not sure of your answer right now, but I can tell you right now, that kid does not want to be like Elon Musk. And I don't mean that in like a bad, negative, political. I'm going to explain myself in a second.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, and so he does this quite a bit. So Elon Musk, first of all, is autistic and has Asperger's. And so I want to make sure I said like those were the two. But he looks at that person and it was dead quiet. And then the one that was also interviewing was right next to him, and he looks at him and he says, you don't want to be like me. And everyone starts laughing.
100% agree.
Everyone starts laughing. And then he said,
wasn't joking.
He says, really? No, seriously. And he stops again and he turns away. He's not even looking at the camera, not looking at the audience. He's literally, you could tell he's thinking back.
Yep.
And he's quiet and
Yep.
he starts to get teary-eyed. And he says, no, you don't want to be like me.
Yes.
My mind is not the way a normal kid's mind should work.
That's right. Or that you want to grow to be, or what you want to grow to.
And
the amount of stress he takes on, the amount of things he's always thinking about, the inability to close, to turn that mind off, the inability to.
He was saying at the age of like 5 and 6, like his mind kept going and going. And on top of that, I'm now watching another interview, and his childhood was just crazy in general, with his father, like being very abusive and all that too. But that's something else. But he talks about like never being able to shut off. And when I saw that individual ask you that question, and I saw it on your story.
What did I say, by the way? What was my answer? Like, I knew it was lengthy. What was the overall answer? What's the punchline?
You will never be like me, and I hope you're not. You know, and I don't know exactly in detail, but like being around you, I mean, first of all, you do a really good job, and I want to give you credit for this. And I think it's because maybe I mentioned it in the beginning of our relationship. Like when I'm with you, I want like all your attention. Like selfishly, I want all your attention. And I don't mean it in a mean way. We just live 3,000 miles apart. We never get time together. And you have never at once pushed back. And you're really good at putting your phone away, or we're good at balancing business and personal. Yeah. And plus we're business partners. So we do try to respect both sides. But you even say yourself, like, you don't sleep. You wake up, you work, you have a hard time shutting your mind off. You're 100%. Constantly, whether it's in church and you heard something great like the pastor said, or you heard something, or you had an experience, you're always notating that. You're writing it down. Your mind is always going. And it reminded me of Elon Musk's like answer is like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Like I said, I already knew where you were going to go with that, because it's 1,000% the truth. First off, you never want someone to be like you. You want them to be like them. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the easiest, corniest answer, but it's just true. When someone says, how do I be like you? It's a compliment. They're saying, I want to emulate what I see. I want to emulate, if I see people that like you, and they're really saying they want to be a part of all of that. They're not necessarily saying they want to be just like you, because the truth is they don't know what just like you is.
Yeah.
They want everything that comes with it, right? It's like saying, I want a lot of money. No, you don't. You want the things you see that come with money. You want security. You want like all that. That's essentially what somebody is saying, right? But if any high producing person, or anybody who has again, I'm going to preface this for anybody watching or listening right now. There are a lot of things that I'm a nincompoop and stupid and just, whatever. Right. But my head does work very fast. Like it's a weird, I'm working with a different operating software system, so to say. Right. And that is a blessing and that is a curse. And to say, hey, you want someone else to, I kind of get what he's saying. Like I don't think I'd want someone else to, I'm just thinking of today, all the different things I've been thinking about and situationally and like, like just all this different kind of stuff. I don't think that I would wish that. It's such a, I'm trying to process that as I'm saying it. I don't think I'd wish that on anybody, but at the same time, it's like everybody has their own cross to bear, right? So like if you have that, well, then you also are given the ability to handle that, right? Like, isn't that how it's supposed to work? So it's tough for me to say for someone else whether you'd want them to have that or not, because the hope would be that they would also have the skill set to manage that, and not just go kill themselves because it's, whatever. So it's a tough one to say, but at the end of the day, you want people to be like themselves. You want them to be the best selves they can be. You want them to, there's no other them in the world. You want them to deliver to the world and their community what they uniquely are able and available and equipped to do. But I do, on so many levels, understand. Like as soon as you even started saying it, I'm like, if Musk is being honest right now, like then he's going to tell you, no, you don't. No, you don't, because that is just a prison.
It's interesting to see him sit in silence, and like, as he thinks about it and being super sincere, but like, yeah,
by the way, any of those people, forget about, for example, people whose heads work super quick. Let's just take popular or famous people who every day millions of people just attack them online and say terrible things and degrade them and assume the worst in every decision they do and label them as fascist, terrorist, homophobic, racist. Like that's what we do today. Everybody who we don't agree with is a homophobic racist. Like at some point or another, they're either going to be transphobic or we're going to find this is how we tear people down now. This is the playbook. You just find something that's deplorable that nobody will have any kind of patience for, and you find a way to label them that. And if you say it enough times, there was I'm not going to use the exact example, but there is a very public figure who had that done recently. And literally when I watch it happen, I just sit there and shake my head and go, is anyone going to catch on here? Like, here we go, like the same playbook. And I ran into someone who that name was brought up, and they started saying how this person, he or she is, I'm not going to say what gender they are, but like, he or she is, did you hear what they said about blank? And I said, I did. What did they say? And he's like, oh, it was just terrible. They hate these kind of people. What did they say? I said to them, oh, it's unreal. What did they say? Tell me why you are now the ambassador for sharing to everyone who will listen to you at the sound of your voice, why they are this deplorable, worst thing you can call someone. And you're becoming the local ambassador. So you must have strong feelings about this. Yeah. What did they say? And at the end of the day, this person could not tell me one thing they had said. They just took their marching orders, as far as like, oh, it was said enough. It's on the news. Here it is. Hey, none of us trust the news, but then we all listen to it. And whatever they say, we just repeat it and we, whatever. And so my point is that not only when you look at people who like have that head that works like that, but take yourself outside of that for a second and think about just famous people in general, how every day they are just, whether it's true or not true, they are just clobbered and just, and when they go places, people will yell things at them about what they are. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm not like that. Like and yet that's their everyday experience. Look, I'm not here to, be the, whatever for, famous people or whatever, but outside of even just people who have quick working heads, when you look at people in the public spotlight, it's a tough time right now to be that, because it's just a matter of time before we lift you up to tear you down. And then we lift you up and then it's just the playbook, it's I don't know. It's a tough time to be in the light right now, to be in the limelight right now.
Oh, totally. And I mean, like,
look at Taylor Swift. Like, you see how they are just like, look at that relationship, right? Like, oh my God, it's the great. Oh, I just, heart be still. Oh, I can't right now. It's so perfect. It's so, whatever. I saw something, was it yesterday? They're already starting to attack the relationship. And now the relationship is fake. And this is staged. And did you see the way that her dad looked when he did? And they're already following the and I'm going, God, everyone, can you just wake up? It's just clickbait. That's all it is. We're all living through these fake scenarios to avoid our own lives. Like,
right.
Anyway. And that's how you sell more houses, folks.
There we go.
You talked about it, like we were talking about social, and like you've gained you have a great following, like you have whatever, and you're like, I want to do more content, I want to do more, whatever, and yet because of everything I just described, you struggle with like, what do I put out? What's my niche? What do I put out? A brand of this?
I mean, I feel like I'm a single mom. My kids are 2 little kids. I'm a soccer mom. I'm a gymnastics mom. I'm business entrepreneur. I'm, all of this stuff. It's like, so what do I do? Like, what do I focus on? One? Do I do all of it? But like, it's kind of like who I am.
Niche has changed. Niche is now you.
It's not one thing.
That's it.
And so I
That's
kind of
it.
need to go into that. And so, yeah, I'm just now like thinking of, okay, great. What do I want to post? I'm getting more involved, and you know this, in a lot of like community stuff and outreaches, and being more available. And so it's a fun time. It just took me a while. I still hate video.
Yeah,
So
get over it.
I'll get over it. Actually, the broker that I was mentioning earlier that I was speaking to about slimming down or leaning down his brokerage brought up one of your videos that you did years ago, because I hired you years ago out here in California. And the video I sent to him back then was about video. And hey, if you don't like the way that you sound and you look in video, guess what? That's how you sound in person. And that's how you look in person.
The exact line I used to use was, if you aren't doing video because you don't like how you look and sound, you'd better be here in front of me with a bag over your head right now, because I can see you and I can hear you. Like it's no different, right? And yeah, niche is you. Like niche today, you know, in the old day, before social, before all this kind of stuff, you had to like kind of like, you know, this is what you are. Every time they see you, you're in a 3-piece suit and you are, you know, whatever. Niche today for me is Jared James. It's whatever the heck I do every day. Like that's how I look at it. Like my niche, the people who follow me, is the Did You Sweat Today? Is the on stage, is the after party at Atlantic City, is me with you, is us doing a health thing together, it's all of it.
But okay, so how far into your career and coaching and all of that, like when you got out of selling real estate, did you say, you know what, I'm gonna be me, I'm gonna be authentic to who I am, and I'm gonna get rid of the suit? I mean, obviously,
follow my stage outfits, and you'd see exactly when it happened.
Because like you talk about this, there's certain, you walk in, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm blanking, but like you say that there is times where you have to put on the Rolex because you're walking and you're meeting so-and-so, and because they care about, it's all about image, how you appear, how you look. And
it depends on the room,
right?
It depends on the room you're in.
Yeah. But do you feel like that now though?
No.
Yeah, but do you feel like it's because you have a certain status now? Like, is there
so that's why I said it's a season in the room you're in. So like when I was starting out, there were people who would listen to me that were top producers, that were whatever, that if they didn't see me with a Rolex on, if they didn't see me with, then they'd be like, oh, come on, he's going to tell me how to whatever. Like he can't even take care of his own fight. He can't even get nice things. He can't even. And so that was more about them than it was me. And when I would just kind of be me and just have kind of simple stuff, whatever, I didn't even realize it, but I was closing down my ability to communicate with them. Right now, you fast forward to Atlantic City a few days ago. We go to a party afterwards, and I come downstairs. This actually just happened. I come downstairs, and Anthony and Max are there, and they got button ups on, and they got whatever, and I'm in a hoodie, and
and cargos or what?
And they're like, God, we wish we could do that, you know, whatever. And we actually did walk up, and the security was like, oh, there's no hoodies, you know, in this whatever. And one of the organizers was like, no, we're good. You know, we're good. And I ended up, so the point is that now in that space, in that industry, that's kind of my brand now. It's just kind of like, hey, he's chill, he's whatever. Whereas in the beginning, I had to really, I had to make sure that I wasn't doing anything for people who didn't know me, hadn't heard of me, hadn't whatever, that was gonna hurt my ability to communicate with them, you know, for them to hear what I was saying. Where now it's not just status, it's age, it's all these things, the amount of time I've been doing this, whatever, where there's a certain credibility that walks with it now, where it's like, I don't need to, I don't have a Rolex on right now. I have a G-Shock.
I think I do agree with you. I could also see how it could be hard for those that want to just be who they are and walk into a listing presentation and feel confident, you know, in what they're delivering and not worrying about what they're wearing, you know?
That's brand though. That's brand. Like the more that brand is out there, you know, we talk about visibility trumps ability. Visibility is your responsibility. The more your brand and your local marketplace becomes more and more well-known, like the more you are able to walk in exactly as you are, and they actually expect it from you. I remember one time a few years ago, I was going to a major conference and I was going to do the opening keynote in front of thousands of people at this major conference. And I said to the one of the people who had hired me as like the CMO of this major brand, I said, hey, would you, for these types of people, the audience was a little bit older. And I said, would it make them feel more comfortable, or would it, because I don't think they were going to tell me. But they're hiring me. I want to make sure that, that I'm delivering what it is they want. Right. And that I'm not hurting my ability to communicate with their audience. Right. Mm-hmm. So I said, hey, would you guys feel more comfortable? Would you happy if at least I put like a blazer on or something when I was up there or did whatever? And she goes, we'd actually be upset if you did that.
Yeah.
And by the way, everyone there was in suits, and including her and the guys and whatever. She goes, Jared, we didn't hire you to come in and act like one of us. There's plenty of people we could have hired who did that. We hired you because we want you to bring that energy here. Like, that's the energy we're trying to bring here. And it was such a moment where I remember looking at that and thinking about that and being like, look, I was willing to make sure I was delivering what they wanted, but it was such a wake-up call for me too, to remember that once your brand gets to a certain point, to not deliver that brand is now disappointing. It's not disappointing to show up like that. It's disappointing to not show up like that.
Yeah.
And that was such a wake-up call for me, because that was a corporate as corporate person comes, but it was just a little bit of a wake-up call. So anyway, for you, I'm like, look, babe, just be consistent.
When it comes to content.
I'm like, I don't care whether you're doing this, that, whatever. Mm-hmm. Just start putting yourself out there. Start documenting your life. Forget about content and just document, like, what's happening, what's this, what's that, what's, whatever. Like, that's the stuff that people start to gravitate towards. That's the realest version of you that we always talk about. Great marketing doesn't just attract the right people, it repels the wrong ones. Mm-hmm. That's the stuff that brings in the right people for you, who it's genuinely you. And then what I find too is that, in the beginning, when you have like your small tribe, right? And then your tribe grows and grows and grows. Those people that were there that saw you make that change and saw you just being yourself, and saw you that when your scale starts to grow and you start going out to other people who may even start to criticize, why aren't you doing this? Or why aren't you like this or whatever? That original tribe is the one who's actually rooting you on. And they're like, I can't wait for everyone else to experience what we've been experiencing in this small little crowd for the past 3, like that's kind of cool too. When you stay consistent, is that it's not only you now who's putting it out there, your tribe will actually feel like they're a part of it.
Oh, absolutely.
They get to release to everybody what we've already, got to know, like that's kind of a cool part of it too. So.
Yeah, just need to get out there. I think a lot of people struggle with that, and
so many. Look at that training I did on social media, and the number of people that were on it, and the number of
it'd be so interesting to see how many have actually implemented.
Yeah, anything or depressing. That would probably be for me. But it makes me think. You and I have talked a lot lately. Like, we're going to talk in a little bit here about what we're going to do at the beginning of the year that I think is going to help a lot of people. But I am really going to start to scale back and start to look at, I've been doing more live trainings. I think I'm going to start looking at where are the real needs in all verticals, right? Where we'll hit the real estate world, we'll hit different verticals, but I'm really paying attention right now to people's real needs. And I think I'm going to start making more step-by-step instructional, courses, for people to actually dive in and implement, social's one of those without a doubt, because it's so easy right now. It's so easy to dominate. And so it's almost not fair when you realize just how easy it is. But while everybody's sitting back overthinking, you've got people that are out there executing on, I've said to you, I've put out videos lately that have nothing to do with real estate. We talked about Black Friday. We've talked about, what was the company that cut 17%? Spotify cuts 17% of their workforce, and their stock goes up 10%. And everybody's like, what the heck? Doesn't that mean they're in trouble? They're cutting people? And it's like, no. They were right sizing. They were overinflated after the whole COVID thing. And that is, for me, as easy as literally, and everyone could do this. If you're in real estate, you just go on here, you go onto some kind of real estate site, Keeping Current Matters, something like that. Go on to CNBC.com, go on the real estate, whatever. And you literally just jump in here and you look like You look for, some kind of a topic that's going to be really interesting, that has to do with the area of people that you're trying to pick up on. And then you click on it, you screenshot it, and you do a green screen reel on Instagram and Facebook. And those platforms are pushing that right now. So it's not even your content. Like, what should I talk about? Every day you just look online and you go, that's good. I did one the other day that was, let me see if I have it on here. It talked about how prices had increased. Yep. Home prices go up again, which everybody was, shocked about. That video takes me, I see it, shoot it. We're in and out in less than 5 minutes, right? And that video, 51,000 views that's on one platform. That's not on all the other ones, right? 1,000 likes, 500 shares, a ton of follows from people that I don't even know. Like 5 minutes cost me nothing, because it's so easy to win the game right now. And the beauty in that is that for any of you watching that are like, well, I don't have the follower count that you have, the majority of those are not my followers. Like, that's the beauty in it, is that I'm just pulling content and commenting on it, having a green screen behind me of the article talking about it. The platforms take that and they're like, oh, this is valuable information people want to know about, right? And they start putting it in front of people, audiences that they think are going to like it, because they want those audiences to like their platforms and to like the content that comes with those platforms. And now you start picking up a ton of followers. All those followers, you're now direct to consumer. You have more visibility. You keep that going. And while everybody else in your area is overthinking, you're just every day, more eyeballs, more eyeballs, just by pulling up. I'm not even like coming up with content. Just, that looks good. Let's talk about it. It's so easy. So easy. And yet everybody's just living in their heads. Like, what should my next video be? I don't know.
I think everyone's always like, not everyone in the real estate space, they talk about, oh, inventory is, it's still a seller's market. We're still selling, inventory's low. And it's more like, they're not looking at other ways. It's just like the MLS. Like, they're stuck on one thing, but they don't look at other avenues, other ways of providing content. They stick into what everyone knows already.
Well, if those if that were true, if that was a deterrent, like it's true what you're saying, but if the reality of that, how they feel about that was true, well, then how do these websites, how do these news organizations survive? Because they're posting the same things every day. It's like, new report comes out, rates dropped for the 4th week in a row, whatever. Well, you just put out one that said 3rd week in a row. It's the same content. And yet we keep going back for more. We keep going back for more. We keep going back for more. And so you got to win the same way that they win, right? It's just consistency. Consistency is undefeated. It's visibility. Visibility is your responsibility. Like, it's just the same stuff, right? But when you live in your head, indecision is worse than a bad decision. I'd rather you make a bad video than no video at all. Like, you really have to think like that. That's when all of these mantras and all these things you hear me say all the time, like, that's when they become reality, is in the actual execution of them. You when I say visibility is your responsibility, you can't, that is good. I like that. I'm going to repost that. That's awesome. I appreciate the repost. What I would appreciate even more is you creating content that is repostable. That's where the power is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, why don't we get off of let's
social and content.
Yeah. Let's get off. Let's change a little bit here. Time of the season. We're talking money. Are you buying Christmas gifts? Are you spending?
I'm done with my Christmas gifts. My kids are young still. It's kind of actually hard. With my kids, this is the thing. You buy them gifts, and our kids are different ages completely. Yours are 15 and 16, almost 17.
Almost 17, yeah.
Mine are 7 and 10. So you give them a gift, they don't like it. Oh, you see it all over their face, right? You're like, oh gosh. Your kids, they get a gift, they probably don't like it. They still say thank you and they give you a hug.
Thank you. You know what though? They actually loved your gift though.
Oh.
Like, that's not always easy to do, but they legitimately. So you got a really good sale and you got them some GoPros for like skiing and snowboarding.
Well, I'm really.
They didn't just do a casual thank you. They were like, they literally went, that's actually a really good gift.
Okay, so this is the thing about me. We'll have a conversation, and I have really good memory, and I will pick up on something in the conversation that they probably threw out there randomly. They never asked they wanted it, but they threw it out in conversation. And I'm
you're
like,
always listening.
oh. So it was, I got the kids, the boys, a GoPro,
Yep.
and they both, one skis, one snowboards, right? No, yeah, ski and snowboards. And Grayson, your older boy, mentioned, oh yeah, let me show you something. My cousin caught me on a GoPro with his GoPro, doing some stuff. And anyway, so he was talking about that. And I used to snowboard in my past life, not anymore. And I could tell he was super excited about this GoPro. And then he showed you, remember he showed you the video too of him when he was little, and cousin also had a GoPro. And I'm like, you know what? Like these boys at this age need a GoPro really more for memory's sake.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly too, for safety reasons. So they don't have their phones out there snowboarding and skiing and like losing that. And so I'm like, cool, early Christmas gift are GoPros. And it's perfect season because they just started hitting the slopes. And so
we let them open them early because they're hitting the slopes now. So without a doubt. You want to tell them?
I in conversation will always pick up on something, but you know what? I also do this in all of my consultations with brokers. I will look around and I'll look at their office and I'll find something that I could relate to possibly or have a conversation about. And every single one of my notes and everything in my CRM has a note about them that has nothing to do about the sell of the product. Always has something to do about personal. And so I pick on that. So I could always refer back to so-and-so in New York who is a huge Yankees fan and whatever the case may be. And so I've always been.
It's a great sales tip. You want to tell them what we're getting each other for Christmas?
Nothing, right? Wait, are we getting something?
Was that like a question?
Wait, I am so confused. Well, I don't know planning anything.
I think we kind of like, we give each other the gift of our love.
Oh, 3,000 miles away.
Which I love. No, I think when we do things, it's more like sporadic. It's more like you always say, like, don't buy me flowers because it's, Valentine's Day. You're like, it doesn't mean anything, which I think every guy in the world agrees with, but it's rare that the woman will actually say that. So I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. I'm 100% on board with you. That is so true. It literally, there's no feeling behind it at all. It's just, let's not get in trouble. Like, got to do this or I'm gonna get in trouble, And we're just kind of like, look, when things come up, we'll do like sporadic gifts to each other. We'll do like, throughout, but it's not like, okay, here's this, whatever. Although, I mean, first off, I'm not easy to buy gifts for, period. Like, and I openly admit that. I feel like I'm like impossible to buy gifts for. And you found that out firsthand when it came to.
We had a conversation and I knew about the John Mayer watches like a year ago when his first one came out, maybe a year or so. And you discovered them on a podcast. You're listening to a podcast like recently, right before the advance, actually. And you're like, oh my gosh, like he has watches. I want watches. Like you're a huge John Mayer fan. Everyone, if you want, like the way to Jared's heart is John Mayer. I'm
not even sure what that means.
Outside of me. Actually, real quick, Max and Anthony thought I was John Mayer's ex-girlfriend. So
that is true. And they brought that up after a couple of espresso martinis. They're like, Jared, so can we just talk about the elephant in the room? We don't know how to address this with Linda. So she's John Mayer's ex, right? And I'm like, what? Do you know something I don't know? No, they were like, is that weird for you? Like, did you when you guys got together, did you stop going to his concerts? Like, did you stop? I'm like, what are you even talking about right now? And then I guess we had some Instagram message exchange where me and one of them, and like they took from that message that you were his ex. That's not what I said, but they were confused by it, but that's what they took from it. And then I wrote you when I told them. I said, so he went from Katy Perry, Jennifer Aniston, Taylor Swift, and he upgraded. Miss Linda.
Is that the real reason why you're with me then? I'm just kidding. No.
It got really weird. It got really weird. Okay. That is not my thing. Okay. I don't have a thing for that.
No. Okay, but going back.
No, the way to my heart, you want to get me something, you want to get me a gift, like honestly, get me like a Starbucks gift card. Because that's like it'll go on my app and it's actually tangible. But like when it comes to gifts, as we're about to complete with this story here, If I need something, I get it.
He mentions this like this watch, and he's going on and on about it. I'm like, you know what? I should have gotten that watch a year ago. And so I went online. They were sold out, and this was
tough to get. You got to buy them on a third mark, like
no. And so I finally got one, and it was going to ship right before the advance. And so
you were trying to get it to me for the advance, so I could wear it there.
Yes, I was. And so I got it. The dude happened to be out in Connecticut. He's like, I could overnight it, and I will take it to the advance and surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this like whole idea, like I'll make a card, I'm gonna put it backstage. He's gonna be everything was perfect.
I just realized I don't look good in this story. I just realized.
It was beautiful in my head. And then I am at my daughter's gymnastics. And
I was at a steakhouse. I was sitting at a bar having dinner. I had an event somewhere, and I went to go get dinner.
And then he screenshots something and sends it over to me. He's like, babe, look what I just got. And I respond like, no.
No. My phone starts ringing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's that excited that she's calling me to tell me, like, way to go. I was a little surprised by it.
Yeah. And I was just like, you did not. I was just more like, are you kidding me? Like, really? You did this? Like, why? Like, why? And then I told him, I had to tell him the surprise. I just got you one. You are the worst person to buy it because he is an impulsive buyer. He sees it in a good way. You don't go out spending. You see it. Oh, I'm going to get it. There's like literally.
I need something. I get it. I'm like, let's go. Done. Yeah.
Like there's no surprising whatsoever.
But it made sense to me too, because like they go up in value. So I'm like, shoot, I'll pick this up, I'll whatever. And by the way, that's why to this day to that. So I have a few different ones, but that particular watch, I have two of them. One of them, the one that I purchased that came in, I still haven't even taken it out of the box because I'm like, I'll resell this sucker. Like this, it's already, I saw it the other day. It was listed for 50% more than I paid for it. So I'm like, shoot, it's an investment now.
Yeah.
But you did not lose credit for
no, and plus mine showed up before your other one, so it's fine.
The thought is what mattered, and
yeah,
I appreciated it.
So Christmas gifts, you're not getting anything because
I don't know. I'm good. I don't. You know me. I don't care one bit about gifts. Not one. And every time we come up on a holiday, I feel like I'm always like dipping my toe in the water with you. Like, are you serious, or are you are you setting a bomb right here where it's like, we're not doing gifts. Then you're going to show up with something and start crying. Where's my gift? How could you not get me a gift?
No.
And I'm always like, is that how's this gonna, I'm trying to figure it out.
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. But you did ask me, and I said, well, I am always on the cold side. Like I always run super cold. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, a robe and slippers is my thing. But the kids are going to get that from me, and you're going to help them.
I'm gonna be in town. I'll take them to go get you just the sexiest robe imaginable.
No.
You told me.
What did I tell you? I want one to go.
I want it like cozy. I want it to hang down to my toes.
I want a fleece robe all the way down to my feet. And you're like, what? And I'm like, yes, with slippers. I'm always so cold.
That's right. That's right. So we will hang that. You want slippers with like a back on them, right? Like not like the slip-on ones,
no,
right?
I want
like
slip-ons.
Wait, you don't want a back on them?
Mm-mm.
No back?
No back.
Yeah, I can get that at a hotel.
You are not doing that.
I have one in my closet right now with the wrapper still on them. Okay.
Anyways, Christmas gifts.
You get Marriott slippers. I'll tell you right now. Let's see just how simple you are. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I have to say though, with Christmas, my kids are little, so they still believe in Santa. I have my little elf right here. See, I hope. I mean, you have an elf too, and your kids are in high school.
No, move them around.
But I do have to say, Santa never gives the best gifts, and I always tell the kids that. And so
that used to drive me nuts.
And Mom always gives the best gifts. Santa
that used to drive me nuts because Ronette used to like some of our biggest gifts would be from Santa.
Mm-mm.
And I'm like hell it is. What are you talking about? It's from Santa. I'm like, I worked for that.
Yeah,
that bike isn't from Santa. Like, a coloring book from Santa.
Yeah,
that's from me.
That's
like,
totally true. So the kids know.
The
kids know, like they always want to open Mom's first because mine are better than Santa. But like Santa will have gifts, but Mom's are always better. And so But man, kids though, my kids at least, I mean, kind of sad to say this, but talk about entitlement. Like I feel like nowadays with electronics, their minds are like, no, mom,
Here's
dad
my
got
list.
me.
I want a MacBook Pro and a
No,
this and
literally,
a
my
that.
daughter, who is 7 years old, and I talked to her about this afterwards. I said, hey, sissy, like, we're not going to have a lot of Christmas gifts like this year. And it's because we actually took in quite a few families that we pulled off a tree and we gave a lot. And we talked about this and it was fine.
You're also trying to not create a culture where it's just all about,
no,
you know, wrapping paper everywhere and, you know, whatever. And, you know, well, let's be grateful, you know.
No, you know, and I want them to have a great experience too and have fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is not, we all know this, it's not about the gifts. Like it's not for me. And so I told Ari that. And she's like, are you kidding me? Last year, I said, Sissy, you have gifts from dad when you go to your dad's house, when you go to both grandma's house, and you're going to get a lot of gifts. Dad only gave me 2 gifts last year, my 7-year-old. I just probably shouldn't say that.
She remembered the number?
And I said, 2 gifts? And she's like, yes. One was an iPad and one was a drone. And that's not fair. And I'm like,
oh, that's some good gifts.
And Santa got her electric scooter. I was like,
oh,
what the heck? Girl, your little set. And she was 6 then.
What, do you want a car?
Like 6 years old then. Oh my goodness. No, she wants a phone.
I get it.
No, I'm not going to get a phone. And so it might be a rough Christmas. So I say this to you. I'm like, with my little kids, they will show you all over their face. Whether they love
you might have to hit reset with them and get them to get back to like what's normal. What's
I remember back in the day where I could go to the dollar store and get 20 items and they loved it. It was amazing. It was the best $20 ever because they got 20 things. They played with it. It was great. And I, you know, we never had an opportunity to believe in Santa. We grew up very poor. And so we didn't even get gifts in general. So a lot of it was clothes, if anything, you know? And so like, I just feel like now it's so much harder, like to have these kids appreciate, especially
and you got to keep up with that. You got to like, you know,
especially
parents, whatever.
You know, my kids are in 2 different homes. And so it's hard to be like, well, you know what? That's what happens at dad's, but it doesn't happen here.
Yeah, we're not playing that game.
Gosh, it's a little difficult at my kids' age right now.
I get that.
Like your kids are super appreciative with anything and everything.
Well, they at least know to act like it. But you know, who knows? That's always a challenge, right? Like, my kids have always been really good, especially Noah, about like, you know, like when you leave a restaurant, because like when I grew up, we did not eat out. I didn't even know what appetizers were. Like, you know, I didn't know you're supposed to be full by the time the meal comes out.
Yeah.
And I always try to explain that to my kids. Like, guys, it's not normal to like, nobody feels like cooking. Let's just go out and eat. And so like, I will, like, it doesn't happen often, but like we leave a restaurant and they aren't like sincerely saying thank you and whatever. I'm like ticked. I'm like, no. All right. We won't be doing this for a while. Like, whatever. Like, it's just like, I don't know how you keep, I guess you just bring it up, whatever. But you know, that's one of those things, those challenges of like making sure that, you know, you appreciate things, you know, whatever. But speaking of that, we're talking money, gifts, whatever. You brought up a video recently, and I wasn't sure if we're going to get to this today, about expenses and the number one expense people have. So do you know what I'm talking about? Oh my God. The video with Guy Kawasaki. Remember we talked about this, the different types of different types of income, different kinds of whatever. And you called me and you're just like, do you know what I'm talking about yet?
Yes, I do. Do you know what I'm talking about yet?
God, was that you?
Talking about this.
It was someone else? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Nice to know our conversations are so impactful. So tell people what you did, because I think this is such an important point. It's so good for people to understand this, because like I was saying this and like you were like talking like you were like enlightened. You're like, oh, is that? I'm thinking like, oh, I thought that was like, you know, whatever. And if we got a chance, I wanted to cover this on here because I think it's good for people to hear. Tell people what you watched. You called me, what you said, let's let people in on that. And then we'll kind of.
Yeah. Scrolling through social and came across an interview. What was the gentleman's name?
Guy Kawasaki.
Thank you. Yes. And he was talking about the number one expense for most people is taxes. And then he talks about there are three types of income: earned income,
I'm going to see if you get these. Let's see if you remember
portfolio
this.
income, and passive income.
Yep.
And then he said this, and I was like, this can't be true. I have to call Jared. It's like, this is how it is, right? Like, Jared knows everything. Like, he is like,
you started on the call and you're like,
I phone a friend every time. Okay.
Tell him what you said. And I'm like, well, this is a lot of pressure. Oh God.
Actually, I did say that. And you did say that as well. But after he said those three types, so he said there's three types of income: earned, portfolio, and passive income. And he's like, and he explained each one of them, which I'm going to have
earned income is your job. That's you have a W-2, your employee, whatever. You have an earned income. Passive income is income that comes off of, you're not working, off of your real estate, rentals that are coming in, off of like that kind of stuff. Portfolio income is, for example, today I was watching the stock market. My stocks and everything went up. So I own a certain amount of shares of Apple. I own a certain amount of shares of whatever, Realogy, or not Realogy, anywhere. Like I own, whatever. That income went up today, right? So that is portfolio income.
Yeah. And so he was talking about the rich don't pay taxes because debt isn't taxable. It's like, what?
Yeah, he says the number one expense for people is taxes. And you're like, what the heck? And then you call me and you go, I have to know, like, because I know that you're going to know the answer to this. So let's just whatever. And I'm going, oh, great. Well, here's some pressure. Hit me with it.
And well, I really asked you, like, how is that true? Like, how do the rich get richer, like, and not pay taxes?
Yeah.
And so you talked about each one of these and how there's earned income, and you broke it down, and the way that you broke it down, though, on why they don't pay taxes was super fascinating. And I'm like, this has to be talked about. Like,
so I won't go into the depth I did with you, but I'll in short say this. There are two different economies. There are two different types of people, right? And 99% of the people in our society are being taught since they are very young on how to be middle class. Okay. And, that's the whole college thing, guys. Go into a ton of debt in college that won't get you any better job, outside of, you need it if you're an attorney, if you're in engineering, if you're in, but any of these others, sales degrees and marketing degrees and all this other kind of stuff. You can never get rid of it, even with bankruptcy. You can whatever, like, here's how, you can have the maximum amount of write-off, whatever. There's this whole world that is the mentality and thinking of middle-class people. And the end game of that thinking is just getting ahead. It's being able to save. It's being able to try to have a good retirement. It's completely, how do I live on the upper scale of middle class? And then you have the rich or the wealthy who do not think like this at all. Okay. Like on any level. And they are taught differently and they act differently. And right down to, I said to you the other day, I said, babe, everybody thinks if you buy a jet that you're somehow flexing, that you're somehow, showing off, or you're whatever. In most cases, in certain scenarios, you're simply doing what's financially feasible and wise. Because if you have a business that does $2 million in net income, meaning you're going to get taxed on that $2 million, you end up paying $1 million, and then you're going to whatever. If instead you buy a jet for $2 million, you now pay 0 in taxes. You can now take that jet, rent it out to NetJets and other places, and now create income off of it, and do, it actually makes sense. Rather than giving $1 million to the government, why don't I own a jet?
We talked about
an actual asset. That's an actual, like, it's going to save me time. It's going to allow me to get income off of renting it out. It's going to, what were you going to say?
No, I said we talked about that because I also read an article about, like, Kim Kardashian buying a jet for millions of dollars, Kylie Jenner buying a home for like 24, whatever millions. And a lot of it is all for
taxes.
Taxes.
But now let's get back to the original point. The ultra rich are not worried about things like earned income. When you say the number one expense is taxes, they're not paying taxes. And the reason why is because debt's not taxable. Okay. So when you see someone like Elon Musk worth, $80 billion, do you think he earned $80 billion? Do you think when he goes and buys Twitter, and renames it X, did he pull out, $44 billion? No. What the ultra rich do is they borrow against assets. Okay. So what someone will do, let's just take it from a starting point. Let's take it from everyday American watching me right now, everyday Bolivia, wherever you're watching from right now. Let's take it from the smallest level. Okay. Forget about billions. Forget about buying a $2 million jet. Let's just right here. Okay. You go and buy an undervalued property, an underappreciated, dilapidated property that is worth 250, but it's going for 160, needs $20,000 to really get it into shape. You pay 180 after all expenses, you pay 190. Now it's worth 275, because you fixed it up and you did, whatever, right? Well, let's take that example for a second, okay? And let's take that 275, right? Let's just say that value of 275, right? 275 times 80, I think is 220. Okay, where'd your camera go, babe?
Just 1 second. The dog is chewing on something, but you keep going.
So let's take that 275 after we put the 20 grand into it, after we've done whatever, right? So now we owe on it. I forget the number we used, but I think we said 190 or something like that, right? 180, whatever that number was. Now what's going to happen is if I take that property that's worth 275, I can borrow against it at about 80%, right? And that gets me to 220. What's going to happen is if I only owe 180 on it, I forget what the exact number is, but if I only owe 180 and I refinance that property for 220, now I've got that property that's income producing, but that $40,000 in between is mine. I can reuse it. I can use it just in my normal day life. I can put it towards another property. I can whatever. But that debt from that refinance is not taxable. Okay. And so while someone else goes out and gets a job out of college for 40 grand, gets taxed at 35%, and then has to, all the other gas tax and all this other kind of stuff that goes on, this person simply bought a property, put money into it, refinanced it, took that money as debt, and doesn't pay anything on that 40,000, which they can then go buy another. And that just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And so that concept, when you scale it out, is exactly what people are doing. I've got a friend right now that bought a property recently, a very multi, unit property. And I think they bought it for 2.2. They put 500,000 into it. So now they're at 2.7. That property is now worth $5 million. Okay. Now, if they want to pull money on that property at 80%, that's $4 million, which means they have $1.3 million in between, which is known as debt. That debt is not taxable. On top of that debt not being taxable, that property depreciation otherwise is getting written off even more against the rest of their taxes, right? So I got friends that are multi-millionaires that pay nothing in taxes. And while they, while people go, oh, the rich or whatever, well, that money was already taxed. You can't re-tax. That's not.
And that's what Guy was saying. Guys, everyone that's complaining about, hey, the tax the rich. He says, good luck. The rich they don't have jobs.
You're gonna tax debt?
They have assets. They're good job. Good luck.
They're just being smarter. They're literally just being smarter.
Yeah.
And when you look at take the Elon Musk example, right? They're worth all those billions and billions of dollars. He goes and buys Twitter. How'd he do it? He borrowed against his asset, right? You borrow against your asset, and that is now called what? Debt. Debt's not taxable. So they keep it within their assets, and then they leverage their assets when needed as income, basically, and don't get taxed on it. And it's brilliant, right? It's it's because they think and they are playing according to a different playbook, according to a different set of rules, while everybody else is over here going, how do I write off, this percent of my, whatever. And they're trying to get their taxes from 40% to 35%, whatever. And it's just you're playing according to a playbook that no matter what level of it you end at, you're still middle class, right? And that's the stuff we never teach people, is how the rich actually think.
It was very fascinating, listening to that. And then having you break it down into layman's terms, like how you explained it just right now. But and then we really ended the conversation, and I said, "Oh, so that's how the rich gets richer." And you said, "Absolutely."
They take it, they reinvest it,
like,
that
wow.
increases. All the while that
Mhm.
asset increases, all the while that asset depreciates
Yep.
against any regular taxes, all the while that money that was pulled out is called debt, not taxable. All the while that when they take that property and forget about when they pull money from it and that debt's not taxable, then they sell the property. You're like, well, here comes the taxable event. No, now they 1031 exchange it right into a larger or better, like right into another. They just keep scaling that process of untaxable money, you know? And so it's just smart. It's just, you know, I think he makes the comment in that video. He's like, I'll never get taxed on my assets. Like, you know, cause I'm not dumb.
I have a question for you, and it's not like something that we have ever talked about, but how would you explain rich and how would you explain wealthy?
Well, okay, so rich and wealthy, the difference in my mind between those different things is asset. When I think rich, I think income. When I think wealthy, I think asset. That's the easiest way in my mind that I decipher between rich and wealthy, right? So if you look at 1%, right? The 1% in the country. Well, the 1% in our country is rich, right? And I got to get the latest stats, but as of last year, that was like, I think like that meant income of 440,000 or something like that, right? Which most people look at that and go, what? That's rich? What's the 1%, right? But that's income. That's why you can go from rich to broke, you know, like why you can go from broke to rich. People don't really go from wealthy to anything else, you know, like when they're wealthy, that's it, you know, and that's because that's assets. That's not something that's going away. That's not something like that's assets. That's appreciable. That's whatever. Income is not appreciable. Like it's not, you know. So if you were to ask me, just being on the spot, my definition between rich and wealthy, it's income versus asset.
So funny because I think I heard or saw, I heard a quote that said something along the lines of like, you are rich if money you refuse tastes better than money you actually accept.
Yeah.
Meaning that you could turn down. I'm good.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment. Like that is yeah, I mean, you know, like
and that could go for wealth as well, but like when you get to that point to where I'm okay, you know, I'm not going to go the 3,000 miles to go. I'm going to put you on the spot. Like, I'm not going to go 3,000 miles. Does it make sense to do that, to speak for this and do that? I'm good. And if you can't,
I mean, honestly, you see me do it all the time though.
Oh yeah. But you know what? I think you're in a position. People don't like, I'm not saying,
okay,
we're
whatever. We're doing a podcast. We're very vulnerable.
Rich.
Sorry, just say whatever.
You know, rich and wealth is all weighed differently based on everything. But I'm just saying there's times where if you could say no to a gig, you know, and control your calendar and feel better walking away, knowing that, hey, like, it's fine. I'm not going to I think that also shows a little bit of like,
I think you start to redefine rich as well, right? So I think we look at rich, and by the way, we're going to talk about health in a second and like all the things that entails. But like, I think at some point you start to, you hear all the cliches and the memes and everything, but like you start to redefine what rich is. You know, forever we're told that rich is money.
Oh,
you know, and then when you get money, if you don't feel rich, you go, this was it, you know? And so I think you get to a point where like, if you gain a certain amount of money, or almost like when I said with social, when you actually understand it, it's so easy. Money is the same way. Making money is the same way, that you get to a point where it's not difficult to say no to things that simply offer money, because the richness of the other areas of your life that they're taking away and that you're paying for don't equal the amount of money. You know, so when you make a comment and you say, oh, you're very good at like just putting the phone away and just being with me and just doing whatever, you know, when you go through a certain amount of life experiences and you go through things that you and I have gone through, and you go through, you know, you see your kids grow up and you realize how fleeting that time is. And, you know, you realize that the cliche of being rich in all those areas, most cliches are cliches because they're absolutely true. They're absolutely real. And so for me, it's not that difficult to say no to things just because of money. I've gotten to a point where I need something to make sense on more levels than just money. You know, money is important and it gives you freedom and it gives you all these things. But what good is it bankroll a, large number, for whatever, when you're bankrupt in all things personal, when you're bankrupt in all things health. And that's legitimately how I look at it. It's why you'll see me say no to so many things or do whatever. It's just because, look, my kid has a soccer tournament. No, look, my son's got his last football game. Or no, look, me and Linda are going to go do this. Or, whatever. You just get to a place where you start making wiser decisions about the richness of your life in all areas.
Absolutely.
On that note, what were you going to say? Go ahead.
Oh, no. Nothing about this, but like you could tell that we're in completely 2 different time zones. Look how dark it is over there. And then I'm in California. Well, and so we still have the sun now.
In fairness, I've said no to too many events and I didn't pay my electricity.
And it went off. I'm just kidding. No. Okay, so let's we're gonna wrap up soon, but I
want to talk about what we're gonna be doing now, beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So you had a great idea, and you and I are very serious about our health, and neither one of us are, even though you look like one, are like fitness models or like whatever. But we are very serious about our health. We are very consistent while still having fun and still having our times out. And, we have this community, and I have this community where we're always helping with business and everything else. And we're heading into the new year when so many people are going to get so serious about their health and wanting to lose weight or gain more this or have more energy or whatever it is. And you had this idea and you're like, why don't we do something? Like, why don't we talk about like what you said to me, like how you what your idea was or whatever.
I honestly thought it'd be great to you and I are very competitive in general. So we keep each other accountable a lot on a lot of things, business, health, family, personal, all of it. And we're coming into a season, like you mentioned, where everyone is right now eating a ton. They're not on a strict diet. Nothing's normal. Nothing's consistent. And we all know in January, and I used to be a personal trainer, so I saw this in January, everyone comes back in, hits the gym, it's overpacked. Those that are regular like us are kind of frustrated, confused, changing our times now because of like the floodgates, which is fine. I'm not saying that is anything wrong with that.
It's fine if you're still going to be there in 2 months.
It's like, it's like, are you really going to make a change? Like, do you really want it? Are you really in? Are you all in, or are you just dipping in for a little bit?
Yeah. And do you have too much ham at Christmas, Yeah.
No, seriously. And so I said, you know what, how cool would it be? And, how cool would it be if we kind of shared not a diet, not like a fitness plan, but literally
we are going to share what we eat, what we look for, what, you know a lot more about that stuff than you give yourself credit for. But we are going to kind of share like what we're looking for and what's on our grocery list and how often are we doing that and how does that work? And, what are the workout plans we're doing and what are the, how are we getting ourselves there? And
And so I said, well, why don't we share what we do? And it's not a diet though. It's a lifestyle. Let's share our lifestyle, what we do, how do we stay fit and comfortable, and not have to be counting and weighing every single ounce of food, which I mean, there are some individuals that have to do it for health reasons or super major goals, and that's fine. I've done that. I do that. I still have it. You and I are both on meal service plans that come and they drop off meals. So we don't have to do the whole weighing out and all of it, but why not share more of a lifestyle?
I've never weighed out, just so you know. I have never.
Baby, it's already weighed out for you.
I've never done that. I've
never. You didn't have to, but I personally I used to be very heavy in my past life, and I worked with your son as well on getting healthy and getting to a state of loving your body. And I think this is something that I thought would be great to kind of share and build a community that really wants to support a lifestyle. It's not a get quick, not a, what is it? Get fixed quick.
Rich quick, get thin quick.
It's not that, it might take some time. It might take longer than 30 days, maybe longer than 60 days, but it's literally a lifestyle that you could keep up with anywhere you go.
Bringing you into our worlds of what we're actually doing, which includes Friday night when we go out to bin and have chicken parm and do whatever. The reason we're able to do that is because we're not doing some diet where you're going to lose a bunch of weight, but it's not sustainable, for the rest of your life. And then it goes away. we're going to bring you into our world of, you know, when we say consistency is undefeated, that applies more than your business, right? It's, you know, I made a thing today that I make, you know, of the little rice cake with the peanut butter, with the banana, with strawberries, with the blue, that is delicious. Yogurt, like whatever, healthy, delicious. It's not even fair that it's healthy. And, you know, I was just working out with the guys in Atlantic City, and we were talking about this whole concept, and they're just like, this is incredible. Like I was talking them through, I was working them out, I was showing them what to do. And they're like, we need this. We don't even know what to do when we go to the gym. He's like, I don't even know what to eat. I don't even know like what I need to be doing. He goes, all I know is we did this workout. He goes, I feel better than I think I've ever felt. He's like, why haven't I been doing this? I don't know. And so we want to kind of like, you know, revive people to that, like, you know, kind of like, you know, like, let's give you that opportunity, bring you into our world. We might even do some live streams of like what exercises we're doing, when we're doing it.
This would be a full-on collaboration. Yes, it's Jared and Linda kind of sharing everything, but also like we want this group, first of all, super exclusive and close, but also sharing other wins, you know, also sharing another recipe, also encouraging those on a push-up challenge or maybe whatever. And so we're going to create several challenges, giveaways. We're going to have recipes. We're going to have, I don't know, like workout plans, but then we're also going to have different ways of accountability, like kind of.
We're going to do trainings on like, you know, what to look for in your diet, not being on a diet, but like your diet overall, the actual true sense of the word, as far as what's in there and what kind of meals do you eat and how often and when. But we're going to bring you into a community where we'll train on the stuff you need to know about. But then we're going to have a community where we just hold each other accountable. We're not freak shows. We're not getting ready for a bikini contest or something, but people are going to lose. People are going to get healthy. Health is the word. I think the domain we're actually using, is called, takinghealthserious.com. Takinghealthserious.com. Like that's what we want to do. What's that?
Which is not live just yet.
Who knows by the time this goes out?
Okay, maybe.
It might be. Okay. She might have just
because you don't
might be
like Elon Musk.
No, just got a deadline now that I know that this is going to go out.
And also, just so everyone knows, I am not a dietitian, nor is Jared, and we're not. We're literally just two individuals that have kind of figured it out, and
they're figuring it out all the time, trying new things, adding new things to our workout, but we stay consistent.
Yeah, and so it's really fun. It's going to be, like I said, in a very exclusive group. We'll have more details on it. We will also be sharing the things that we take. So like, if we can't get a meal, we'll show you our protein powders that we take and what we do, vitamins that we take and how we're implementing that. But obviously everything that we, especially when it comes to protein shakes and vitamins, like, and if you have a health issue, obviously advise with doctors and physicians, but like, this is just what seems to be working for us, you know? And I feel like having a community that we could kind of lean into, for support as we go into this year, and just for encouragement, direction, advice, like a fun little challenge is good for everyone.
So. A group to support you, bringing you into our community that supports you, that trains you up, that gets better from each other, you know, a true synergy.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really great. I think what we're going to do for this, because it's going to be an exclusive group, we're going to have an exclusive Facebook group where we kind of house everything. We put our ideas and we put the videos and we put the, you know, all that stuff. The daily accountabilities, all that stuff. I think we're going to do $197 for an individual, and it's going to go on for 60 days. Maybe it'll go on more. We'll see. Maybe we'll keep that group and just keep adding people to it as time goes on. Who knows? Yeah. What's that?
I'm hoping longer, but we'll see.
Oh, okay. But it's minimum 60 days. It's going to be $197 for an individual and $297 for a couple. And, you know, that's, you know, for the amount of stuff and the amount of time we're going to be putting in, that's way more reasonable than anything.
And for those that are not near a gym, almost everything, how big could be done just at home.
That's what Max was just saying to me when we just worked out at the gym in Atlantic City. He kept saying, this is incredible. He's like, how do I get you to write this down or like show it to me or something? He's like, I could do these at home. Like he goes, I feel amazing. All of this I could do at home. This is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, that's the idea. You know, me, I'm on the road, I'm hotel room, this, whatever. Like you need stuff that's doable, you know, that's actually practical. But again, we're not trying to, you know, our target market here is not somebody who's, you know, trying to go audition for Baywatch. If that's your genetics, awesome. we're just trying to stay healthy, you know, and that's why we're saying takinghealthserious.com, you know, like we're just trying to stay healthy and, you know, everything that comes with that and help bring some more people along, because the bottom line is, look, you do better when you do better at work, you do better in your relationships, you do better in when you feel healthy and you're creating that narrative of actually taking care of yourself. So that's something we debated about. Looks like we're going to do it. So again, that's going to be takinghealthserious.com. You'll see a lot more of that coming up as we get closer to the new year, because we're probably going to launch it on January 1st. We'll do trainings and otherwise and marketing prior to that. But our official launch, when we open the group and get everybody in, it's probably going to be January 1st. So we'll have more details coming as far as what that is, but that's coming up. And I think for a lot of you that want to come inside our world a little bit here and just kind of learn about what we're doing and how we're doing it and whatever, this is going to be your chance to do that.
It'd be fun. And then grab a friend, you know, and join and use that person as an accountability partner as well.
Yeah. So. Excellent. Anything else? We've gone on here for almost 2 hours.
I know.
Chris, it's hard to get to. Is there anything else we need to
cover? No, I don't have. No, I think that's it. I'm excited that we finally got one of these in. So
we're going to do more now that we can do this. We know that we can do more, but I'm going to do the
other one
sitting on my couch.
Well, you'll be in Fresno soon, so maybe we'll do one here.
Oh, that's right. I will be in Fresno. We'll have to do it just like computer, because I won't have the camera and stuff. But yeah, well, as usual, guys, if you get a chance, go to connectwithjared.com. Connect on all the platforms, guys. Let us know if you're loving this or not. I've been putting a ton of content out on the social channels. So make sure you check that out. Linda, what's your Instagram handle?
_ Linda Yacoub _
Linda. Okay. Just go to Jared James today and look for her. Just look for her. She'll be tagged and you could follow her that way.
Yes.
That's probably the easiest way.
Oh no, you asked. Oh my God.
Anyway, thank you everybody for watching, listening. We love you.
It was fun. Bye.
We'll see you guys.